Hey, you guys, this is Bless This Mess podcast, and I am the host, Diana. This is my very first video, so be nice. Talk to me nice, y'all. I am coming on here to talk about today's uh, video. It's going to be focused on, did God tell me to move? Did he? I hope if you've landed on this video because you're looking to move and you think God told you to move, I hope to be able to confirm some things for you or give you some things that you can, some tangible things that you can think about and take back to the Lord and pray about and search yourself and see if he's really telling you to move, or is this something that you just made up in your head. And I'm not, this not to be insulting, because I thought I made it up in my head. So I would imagine that when God tells other people things like that, much like me, you think, God, is this me or is this you? So when God, and I'll get right into it, not to, in an effort of time and space. I don't want to waste your time because I'm not really comfortable, if you could tell, recording this video. I don't do well on videos. Maybe the more I record, the better I'll get. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see if this one ever make the light of day. We'll see. Did God tell you to move? So God told me to move, and we're going to go through my experience in hopes of you being able to identify with some of the things you hear that I went through, and maybe it'll resonate with you. And maybe you've been through the same things and you're wondering, is this what everybody goes through? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. What I'll say is I search YouTube for all the God told me to move videos in hopes of finding my unique experience in one of those. And I'll tell you right now, I didn't find my unique experience. I didn't find what I was looking for. They were, I would say, helpful to hear their stories. It kind of gave me a sense of community, if you will, that this wasn't the first time. I wasn't crazy. God does tell people to move. And what else was I going to say? And he does tell people to move, and this is how their experience was. It wasn't my experience. What I was looking for, what I found and what I was looking for. I found that a lot of people documented their experience afterwards. So when you heard from them, you were hearing what they were going through before they got to the destination they were in. My hope is that me documenting why I'm currently going through this thing, working this thing out, work out your own salvation, right? While I'm currently working out what I believe God is telling me to do, hopefully you'll find yourself somewhere in this current state or be able to identify with it along your journey. So, did God tell you to move? And I'll answer that question by telling you how he told me to move. So at that point in my time, God was taking me through different things. I was going through different fasts. I probably did a fast a month. From January to August, I probably fasted at least 1 day or 2 days a month that whole time. At one point, I did a 40-day fast. One point, I did a 9-day 9 days only water fast. That's as far as I was able to get. But I did a couple fasts during that time frame. But here we are at August 13th. And I am currently preparing to move to where I believe God is telling me to move. Around about June, I would say, I started to ask God. I was already preparing to move back to my hometown. And I started to ask God if he wanted me to move somewhere else and not Michigan, to just let me know. Because I felt like he was calling me to move. I was watching all these move channels on YouTube, and they were moving to Texas or LA or wherever have you. And I was like, maybe I'm thinking too small. Maybe I should go somewhere else, maybe not back home. So I said, God, hey, and I literally said this to him. This is a true story. I said, God, if you want me to move somewhere, you can just tell me. I'm okay with that. You know, my plan is to move back home, but if that's not your plan for me, you can let me know. And now it was just that simple. And I don't remember how many weeks, days later, I went to sleep. And God speaks to me a lot in dreams, you guys. So if you're a dreamer and God speaks to you in dreams like he does me, I want to confirm that your dreams are from the Lord. But be mindful that the devil can also give you dreams. So you have to know, well, the way I'll say your dreams, you have to know how God speaks to you. God speaks to me. Occasionally he speaks to me, but more often than not, he comes to me in dreams. If I ask him a question, I can almost confirm within a day or two, I'm gonna have a dream, and he's gonna give me the answer to that question within that dream. So I told him, I said, God, if you want me to move somewhere, it's cool. So a couple days later, and I really don't remember the time frame, but it was really fast. I went to sleep and I dreamed that I was out of state. I knew that I was out of state and I was in Indiana. That's all I knew in the dream. I can't remember what I was doing in the dream in Indiana, but I was there. And so as I started to wake up, I asked God, I said, I'm in Indiana where? And in the dream, he said South Bend. So, okay, I wake up. And that was the first time I had that dream. So I didn't think nothing of it. I forgot all about asking him, did he want me to move anywhere? That wasn't anything on my mind. I had forgot all about it. So, and like I said before, I have a lot of dreams. And at this point in my time, I was trying to understand my dreams. I'm trying to understand what God is telling me through my dreams. So I knew enough in that time to ask questions. So like I said, as I began to, I had a dream that I was in South Bend, Indiana. And as I began to wake up, I asked him, I had a dream I was in Indiana. And as I began to wake up, I asked him where. And at that point, he said South Bend. I didn't think much of it. That was the first dream I had about South Bend, Indiana. I didn't think anything of it. I think in my head, I was like, that's interesting. But okay, moving right along. Couple days later, I had another dream. And this time I was looking for apartments in South Bend, Indiana. And I'm like, Now, I said earlier, and this is true, when God is trying to tell me something, it starts repeating. That almost gives me a confirmation on the dream I had last night. But God, keep that on my mind, but let me stay focused, Diana. Since God deals with me and repeats, I knew at that point I had 2 dreams about South Bend, Indiana. So then I knew it was enough to take back to God. So I was like, okay, God, I had the dream about being in Indiana that you later revealed to me that same dream that I was in South Bend. Now I have a dream that I'm actually looking for apartments in South Bend, Indiana. Lord, are you trying to tell me to move to South Bend, Indiana? If you are, Lord, I need confirmation. Like, I don't just want to be South Bend. And let me give you a little history about South Bend, Indiana. I have family in South Bend, Indiana. I don't really know these people. My mother, my grandmother, and her siblings are from South Bend, Indiana. I had never been there. But I do know that's where they originated from. They lived in South Bend, Indiana, and then they end up moving to Muskegon, Michigan, where I grew up, partly between Muskegon and Grand Rapids, Michigan. And so South Bend, Indiana was a place I was familiar with, but I had never been. So as I asked God to confirm it for me, I just put it off. You know, I didn't think much of it because I was waiting on confirmation. I'm not finna make a huge move. I had never been there. I don't, like I said, I have family there, but I've never met them. Heck, I don't even know if they still living there right now. I just know that that's a lot of my mom's family is from there. So it's potentially, I still have a lot of family there. So I didn't think nothing. I shouldn't say that. I did think it was something, but I wasn't going to commit to it without some true confirmations from God. So I asked God to confirm it, and he confirmed it in way more ways than I could imagine. And prior to it, it was good that I watch a lot of faith-based programs, because one of the things I learned at this point in my life, prior to him telling me that, was that God will answer you in practical ways. I, myself, Diana, was waiting on him to part the sky. But the reality is God probably isn't going to part the sky for little old me. He might, but he ain't, and he didn't. But he will answer me in ways that are more practical in everyday life. So the first confirmation after I asked came in the form of I was looking at a podcast. I watched the Terrence Whitfield Dear Future Wifey podcast, and he had a homeless lady on there who's very spiritual, and I was so moved by her her what is it, his podcast and her episode. That's what I was trying to think of. I was moved by her episode, and I just thought it was amazing. So I happened to open my Instagram app, and lo and behold, I see that he's Terrence Whitfield and is going live with the lady. Her name is September Black, and he had her going live. And so I don't watch lives, you guys. I don't watch Instagram lives, Facebook lives. And if I ever watched your live, you are privileged, because I don't do it. But sometimes if you see somebody you know and I'm trying to support them, I will sit through it for a minute. But I don't watch lives because I don't have the ability to control them. I don't like to just sit there and watch somebody interact on social media. If I want to know, if I'm nosy enough to know what you was talking about, I'll wait till it's over and go review it. Fast forward, rewind, or whatever have you. I can control how much of it I listen to. I can be like, okay, let me listen to the beginning. Okay, that's what they're talking about. And as you start to talk about things I'm not interested in, I like to fast forward, bloop, 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 and get to something that maybe might catch my ear. And if it doesn't, then I'm just out of it altogether. So I don't like lives because I can't control what I'm listening to. I can't fast forward, rewind, or whatever have you, and control the content that's going in my ears. So I prefer to, if I want to know what you were talking about, I will watch it once you're off live. I will support and give you a view and see if you're talking about anything I'm interested in, if you're somebody I follow. So when I got on Instagram and he was live, like I said, normally I don't listen to lives, but since he had September Black on there, I was like, oh, okay, let me see what she's talking about, because she is a spiritual woman and I'm interested in the things that she has to say. So I'll sit through this live, and I know from the previous podcast episode that what she's saying is faith-based. So I could get through this, I could listen to this, and it might edify my spirit. So I'm listening to it, and during this podcast, this live episode Instagram feed, he's asking for people to come on and ask. You know, you can get on live with him. So you know how on Instagram you can ask to join the live, and he had told people that they can ask to join it. So when I click in, some lady had, like 5 seconds after I start watching it, some lady, he clicked some lady in. And it was a random lady. I don't know her, right? And she started to talk to September. And she said that they asked her where she was from. And she was like, oh, I'm from Indiana. I'm like, oh, okay. That's kind of odd. But all right, let's keep going. So I noticed then that was an Indiana reference. So that wasn't much. I took that in my hat. It was like, Lord, I heard that. But I'm going to need more confirmation than that. So later on that night, I go to sleep again, and I have another dream. In this dream, I had, and this dream was unique because I have cousins on my mom's side, and they live in Muskegon, Michigan. But I've never ever dreamed about these cousins. I don't know why. I just never do. You know, dreams, I don't get to pick and choose who I dream about. They come to me when they do. So at this particular dream, I dream about my mom's family and my cousins in Muskegon. And so when I wake up from that dream, in the dream we was just hanging out. We were going to go on a cruise. We were just having a good time. Me and my cousin Pam. She lives in Muskegon. And when I woke up from that dream, I thought, that was odd. I never dream about my mom's side of the family. And then it dropped into my spirit that dream was, and you know, you got to understand, if you research dreams are, what is the word I'm looking for? They are typically, what is the word I'm looking for? Dreams are symbolic. Almost always when you dream about something, it's rare. It's possible, but it's rare that exact thing is what's going to happen. Oftentimes, God, like how Jesus came and spoke in parables, oftentimes your dreams are going to be symbolic, and you're going to have to understand the reference that God is trying to give you in that moment. So when I woke up and I started to dissect my dream, I'm like, okay, I dreamed about my mom's side of the family. And then it dawned on me, like, where does my mom's side of the family live? They live in South Bend, Indiana. So I was like, okay, clearly God wants me to move to South Bend, Indiana. That was 2 confirmations. So then I at that particular time I needed to go back to Michigan, and I had decided that at some point I'm going to go visit South Bend, Indiana, and just to see and stay there and see if I can glean, cuz at this point I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, although those were 2 different in my mind confirmation, I still was not convinced. I still need, cuz I've never been there. I don't really desire to move there. I'm not convinced. So I go to Michigan, and I was intending on staying a month there, but something happened with the trip, and I ended up not staying there a month. I only stayed a week. However, before I went, and I had drove down to Michigan from Charlotte, and since I had drove, I had a little bit of wiggle room that I could do whatever I want before I go back home. So after I left, stayed a week in Michigan, I'd leave and drive 2 hours to South Bend, Indiana, and I stay there for a week with the intention of just to see how it feels, to see if I get any additional revelation while I'm there, to see if God talks to me more, that if anything that happens while I'm there that really speaks to me, that he's confirming the move for me. So as I leave Michigan on a Sunday, I start to drive to South Bend, Indiana. On the way there, I start to talk to God in the car, and I'm like, God, I'm going to go and visit South Bend, Indiana, because I think that's where you're telling me to go. If you want me to go, I need another sign. Because, at this point I'm staying in hotels. Hotels are very expensive, and I don't want to waste my money on a hotel to visit if this is not really where you want me to go. I'm only going because I want to check it out, because I think that's where you're telling me to go. And if you want me to go, Lord, I want a sign, and all between this time, and I was asking for signs, and to be perfectly honest, and sidebar you really quickly, I literally wanted God to part the sky for me. I'm not even going to lie to you. I wanted him to part the sky, or to come in my bedroom with an angel. Bring me, remember the angel came to Mary and said she was pregnant? I kind of wanted something like that. Come to me and be like, yes, Diana moved to Indiana. I wanted the very undeniable sign that Indiana was where I was supposed to be. And the signs that I was getting, to me, wasn't sufficient for me to just pick up and move to Indiana without ever being there, without having the desire to move there. Nothing in me wants to move to South Bend, Indiana. I'm just being honest with you. So as I'm driving there this Sunday, it was a really nice day, and I'm getting comfortable in the car, because if I would have just head back home, it would have been a 10-hour drive. So at this particular time, I'm getting comfortable, and I'm like, Lord, I could just keep on going and finish this out and going on back home. If you want me to stop in Indiana, I need a sign that you want me to stop in Indiana. Right after that, a car pulls in front of me, and oh my goodness, I wish I had a picture, you guys. It would make so much more sense if I just took a freaking picture. But again, I'm waiting on them to part the sky, so these little signs ain't meaning nothing to me. So a car pulls in front of me. I'm driving the fast lane. If you know me on the highway, I drive in the fast lane. I'm smashing it, right? Heavy foot. Just go with it. So car pulls out in front of me. And at that moment, I look at the car, and I see that his license plate says, "Trust me." And I'm like, that's weird. Who would have a license plate saying "Trust me"? It was TRUSTME. So I'm like, why would we need to trust you? Like, why would you have a license plate saying "Trust you"? Like, I'm sitting here reading the man the third degree in my car. Like, that don't even make no sense. Like, what am I supposed to trust you? Trust you to drive safe? I hope so, because we both, yes. Anyway, so I was having a whole conversation with this man, and he didn't even know. So I didn't think nothing of that. I totally dismissed that and kind of ringed that man a new one. So I get to the Indiana, and I had booked 2 hotels. I booked one hotel in one area town, and I booked another hotel downtown. The hotel that was not downtown was a little cheaper. It had more amenities that I don't stay. I'm bougie when it comes to hotel rooms. Let's just start there. Let's just say that I'm bougie. So the first hotel that was in downtown was cheaper. And the downtown hotel was expensive, and plus it was downtown, so it didn't have parking. It didn't have free breakfast. And it was more expensive. So I had booked the other hotel because I'm thinking that I don't want to pay for parking. I want free breakfast. That staying, if you travel any amount, you know that the free breakfast hotel help you eliminate having to pay for a meal while you're staying in the hotel. You don't have to worry about dinner. So I was like, I'm gonna do the other hotel because not only is it cheaper, it gives me more amenities. I can park on site, I get free breakfast. It seems like a way to go. So I pull up to the downtown hotel just to see, because this was my first time ever to South Bend, so I just wanted to check out the hotel downtown. Pull up, sure enough, valet was $25 a day. I looked around, there was nowhere to park, so I was like, let me just hightail it over to the other hotel. They got better prices and amenities anyway. But I go to check it out, and I pull up to this hotel, and I wasn't staying there. Nope. Just from the outside of it, I knew I wasn't staying there. I go inside because at this point I had just got off the road and I had to use the bathroom. So I'm like, let me just go in here and check out the inside and use the bathroom. So I go in there and use the bathroom. The guy that greeted me, I guess he was staying there too. He didn't look like somewhere I wanted to stay being a single woman by myself. So I was like, yeah, no, I'm going to use the bathroom and going on back to the downtown hotel. At least I feel a little bit safer in a downtown area. And plus the standard of what I'm used to staying in seemed to look better from the outside. So I go back to the hotel room the hotel. And at first, I check it out. I check out the area. I'm like, okay, I got to pay for parking. I don't want to pay $25 a day for valet. I just don't want to. It's just too expensive. I had to pay for a hotel the previous week in Michigan because of everything that transpired. And now I have to pay for hotels again in South Bend. It's being a little taxing on my pocketbook. I don't want to have to pay for parking too. And at that point, I didn't know how long I was staying there. I was just kind of playing it by ear. And so I get down there and I look for parking. The first place I found was a lot, like not too far from the hotel, but it said you had to be out at 8 a.m. And I'm not about to get up in the morning and move my car. I'm just not about to do that. So that was a no-go. So then I ride around again and I found another lot, but it was too far from the hotel and I had luggage and I didn't want to be hauling my luggage like a mile from the hotel. It just wasn't feasible for me. So I tell God, I'm like, okay, God, if you want me to visit here, this is the hotel that I'm going to stay at. I don't want to pay for parking, so I need you to do something. That's what I'm going to do. So after I say that prayer, talk to him, I pull up in front of the hotel at the valet station. I didn't think they were going to give it to me free. I just thought I was going to ask some questions and we'll go from there and see I don't know what they can do. We're just going to check it out. And maybe I missed a lot that I wasn't familiar with. Maybe they have somewhere for me to park and I just didn't know it. So I pull up into the valet station and I tell the guy, I'm like, hey, I'm looking for somewhere to park. I understand you guys have valet, but it's also $25 a day and I'm not prepared to pay that price. That's just not something I want to do. Where do you advise that I park? He was like, well, they have this lot, but you have to be out at 8 in the morning. Remember, I already discovered that myself. And they have another lot around the corner. I already discovered that as well. And I was like, neither of those are sufficient for me because I don't want to be parking that far away. I have a lot of bags. I want to get out the car and I just don't want to have to deal with it. He was like, well, you know what? You can park here for free. I'll give it to you for free. How many days are you here? And at the time I was booked for 3. And he was like, 3 days? Okay, you can park for free. You just get your stuff out. I'll escort it to your room and I'll park your car free. That worked. So I'm like, okay, God, I see you out here. I see you out here moving fast. So I was like, bet. Boom. All right. So I check in my hotel. And while I'm sitting there, I end up talking to a girlfriend. And I'm like, girl, the Lord done gave me free parking. I'm in the hotel. Everything is good. The Lord done they only gave me free parking. They gave me something else, a free coupon to get something to drink. And something else I got free. I think I got like 3 things free before I ended up going up to my room. Maybe it was just those 2. I don't know. But I got more than one thing free. So I go up to my room and I tell my friend, "Hey, girl, I'm parked. I'm here. I checked in." And so my friend knows that I'm on this journey to try to figure out if this is what God is telling me to. So just so you know, and I'm like, "Girl, I don't know. Maybe this is where the Lord wants me to be. I got free valet. I got this coupon free to get me something to drink." And she was like, "For real?" And I was like, it dawned on me in that moment that I had saw that license plate, that everything that transpired about me asking God, did he want me to go to Indiana? And if he did, to send me a sign. And I saw that license plate. Now, mind you, I said at the time, I was like, who wants a license plate to say, trust me? That makes no sense. But in that moment where I was talking to my girlfriend and telling her the thing that happened with the valet, he brought back to my memory what had transpired with the license plate. And I'm like, oh goodness, he had already gave me a confirmation, but I totally dismissed it. And a little another sidebar. The reason why trust me was a significant thing for me because earlier in this journey, a couple months back, he told me something else. And I was struggling with it. And in my car one day, I was like, Lord, I don't know if you said this. This seems far fetched and blah, 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 blah. I'm kind of going back and forth. We're having this. Well, I'm not going back. He's not coming back and forth to me, but I'm having this discussion. And you see the theme here. I talked to him in my car. I suggest you do it too. It's time for it. It's time to put aside. If you ain't doing nothing else, turn your music off, talk to God. So I was telling him how I feel, and I've gotten in a practice of trying to be honest with him and being open about my feelings and emotions to him and allowing him to say or tell me something. So I had told him whatever I was believing that I thought he said, it just seemed so far fetched, and I didn't want it to be transparent. I didn't, what he was telling me was so far fetched. And if at some point when it comes to fruition, I will come back to this video and tell you guys what it was when it comes true. But it's so far fetched in my mind that that can't be the case, and that I maybe in my flesh is desiring that, and I didn't really feel like I was because this particular thing wasn't on my radar and it came out of nowhere. But at the same time, it was so far fetched that, like, is this me or is it God? So I'm telling God, like, God, there's no way this could be you, and I'm okay if it's not you. I just don't want to be wanting something that you didn't put in my heart. You know, if it's not of you, take it from me. You know, just going through that whole little spiel because it just seemed too good to be true. And so I think I cried, maybe. Did I cry? I think I did because I don't know. Maybe I didn't. I don't remember. Anyway, I just told him that it just was too good to be true, and I wasn't sure if that's what he was telling me. So then that was the first day. Then the next day, I was in the car driving again, and he said to me that you're having a hard, basically from the conversation I had the previous day. That's why I say talk to God in the car. He talk to God anywhere, and trust me, he will answer you. He might not answer you in that moment. Sometimes he does, but oftentimes he will answer you fairly quickly too, in my experience. So the next day when I was in the car, he said to me, you're having a hard time believing. No, he said, you're having a hard time trusting me because you think I'm like everybody else who let you down. Boy, that thing hit me like a ton of bricks. I boo-hoo crying because he was right. It wasn't that it was so far-fetched. I guess in my mind, what I think he was telling me, he couldn't do it. And so many people had, and I was so scared to believe that he would do that thing because I've been disappointed on several times before, and I didn't want to get my hopes up. So I already knew that I was struggling with trusting him for hard things, right? So when I saw that, when I saw the trust me license plate, it didn't dawn on me at the moment. But when I sat down and was talking to my girlfriend and talking about the things that had happened, that got me to the hotel room, and it reminded me of that whole license plate ordeal, and that whole trust me stood out like a blaring sign because that was a thing with God and I that I was struggling and trying to learn to trust him. So when that license plate said trust me, I should have instantly knew, but I didn't. So at that point, when I was talking to my girlfriend, and I realized that not only did he already tell me trust me, as when I asked him if he wanted me to go to Indiana, he said trust me. Then when I asked him if he wanted me to be in Indiana, that he needed to figure something out with the parking, he did just that. So there's that. Those are two more signs that I'm supposed to be in Indiana. So, okay, I ended up staying in a hotel several days, and it wasn't a bad experience, but the hotel Wi-Fi was messed up, and I was working from the hotel room because I work from home. I'm a remote worker, and it just wasn't the best. And I was staying in a hotel because I get discounts. My girlfriend works at Marriott, and I get discounts through Marriott, family and friends. And so I got a discounted rate, but unfortunately, they would only give you that discounted rate for 3 nights in a row. So I ended up having to change hotels. I changed hotels, and that hotel was much better. I'm so glad I ended up changing to that hotel because it was actually better. Had free breakfast. The breakfast was nasty, but that's neither here nor there. Free parking, and I should have been there from the beginning, but whatever. So I ended up changing hotels, and at this particular time, I had decided to stay a whole week in the hotels in Indiana. So from Sunday to the following Saturday, I ended up changing hotels on a Wednesday. And since I was staying there a whole week, I knew I needed to make money. So I Instacart as my side gig. So I decided to start Instacarting since I was at this new hotel and it was in a better area close to stores. And one particular store was Meijer. If you're from Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, we're Meijer people. Meijer is the best. So I was like, okay, I'll start Instacarting. So I Instacart a couple days. I made good money. Probably the whole time I was there, probably made like about $160 the whole time I was in Indiana. So I Instacart and I'm going to Meijer's and I'm delivering groceries. So that was fine. I did that for a couple days. But while I'm doing that, at this point, I've conceded to that's where God wants me to be based on all the things that I think are signs. And I start to look at apartments. So I had toured one apartment that I don't think was to my standard, and I ended up trying to tour another apartment, but I got there and they didn't have any apartments to tour, but they offered to give me a virtual tour. They offered me to sit at the desk with the apartment, a leasing lady, and do a virtual tour. I'm like, no, thank you. If I'm gonna do a virtual tour, I could do it on my own, right? So I didn't do that. But at that point, that was 2 apartments. The first apartment in my mind, and I'm gonna just be perfectly honest with you guys, and this is not a shot on South Bend, Indiana, in no way, shape, or form, but it wasn't where I wanted to be. So I started to get semi-depressed, if that makes sense. I started to have just a little depression going on because as I'm riding around the city, it's nothing like Charlotte. And Charlotte is where I see myself. Charlotte has all the things that I want as a single Black woman, still young enough to get out here and live a best life situation. Charlotte is a better place than Indiana. So I'm starting to get sad. I'm emotional. I didn't really boo-hoo cry, but I did do a little teary-eyed situation when I was talking to my girlfriend. And then I started to tell God, because the apartments I toured was not the best. And I have a standard that I want to live. I don't, this apartment isn't the best, but it's nice, right? You can see that, I have vaulted ceilings. I don't know if you can see that back there. I have a fireplace. I have a tray ceiling in my bedroom. I have some type of interior doors that separates the second half of the apartment from the living part. Stainless steel appliances, master bath, central air, everything I want, it has. And when I toured that apartment in Indiana, I was very discouraged. Although it's better economically compared to in Charlotte, that apartment was like $900 or something, but it had no central air. They still had a window unit. It was like in a smoking. They still allow people to smoke in those apartments. And this particular one, the apartment itself wasn't bad, but walking into it was not to be desired. And I don't want anybody walking into that to try to get to me. I don't want you to have to go through that mess to get to my apartment and then, oh, behold, behind this door, it looks great. I don't want that. I want people to come and be able to be greeted even in my hallway with a nice standard of living. And I will be honest, and maybe it's a little bougie to think I have a standard of living, but I do. And it is what it is. Judge somebody else, not me. So I started to get a little discouraged about having to move there. And I'll be perfectly honest with you guys. It's not what I want to do. So I'm getting discouraged, and I started to notice, even in my discouragement, I start to disconnect from God. I start to not feeling like praying. I'm not really talking to him. I'm not really praying at night. I'm just not. It's because I'm discouraged, and I'm kind of being a recluse, trying to pull back into myself and not really seek him for his wisdom and his provision and all those things. I'm just literally starting to go into myself and isolate into myself and even isolate from him. So I noticed I'm doing that, but I know that I'm doing it, but I really don't know that I'm doing it. I know that I'm doing it, but I don't want to do anything about it. That's just, I'm probably idolizing my emotions at that time. So in any rate, I agreed to stay till Sunday to test another thing out that he was promising or promised me, and just see it out till Sunday. So fast forward to Saturday night. By this time I'm still Instacarting, and I hadn't looked at any more apartments, but I had been taking pictures of them with the intent of looking them up. It's something different opposed to, it's better to go to an apartment to look at it in person than it is online, because they can show you anything online. They're going to show you the best of the best. Had I not went to that apartment and saw how the hallway looked and just looked at the online photos, I would have thought it was an amazing apartment building, right? But it wasn't. So fast forward again to Saturday night, Saturday evening. I was Instacarting, and I did a couple Instacart orders. I think I had made like $70 that day, and I got to the last little bit. It was like 7:30, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm gonna just go back to the hotel room, get my shower in, and get ready for bed so I can go to church tomorrow and hit the road coming home. But when I get to the hotel room, I look at my Instacart app because I hadn't signed off, and I noticed that there was a really easy order. It was a $16 order, and all I had to take, it was 0.2 miles from the store. I had to get ice cream and cookies, and that's it. Just 3 tubs of ice cream, those little small pint Haagen-Dazs ice cream. He wanted 3 of those, and a batch of cookies, and me to drop it off so close to it where I probably could have walked to the place. And I didn't know if it was an apartment / house, because the other at that point, the other Instacart orders I had done had all been houses. So it was in my mind that I was going to another house. I didn't think much of it. I just knew that I was going to it was a really easy order, so I was going to drop it off really fast, and then I would be done for the night. But when I get the order and I transfer my batch to prepare to deliver, I noticed the name on the batch. The name was the same name as a different promise that the guy had made to me about a separate promise. So I took note, and I was like, that's interesting. He has the same name as another promise that God had made me know that he has for me as well. So I noticed it, but I didn't think none of it. So I go and drop it off, and it happens to be some apartment buildings. And I'm like, oh, okay, these are the first apartment buildings that I delivered to. That's pretty nice. They looked nice. They seemed nice. And I was like, oh, okay. They seem nice. The outside seems nice. Doesn't seem like no fancy business is going on. So let me look it up online, see what the inside look like. And I was like, oh, okay, they look kind of nice. And remember, I had told, I don't know, did I tell that part? I have a standard of living, so I told God I didn't want to decrease my standard of living. I know you're not moving me here, God, to send me back to this impoverished area and have to now live below my standard. Lord, I know that's not what you're doing. So that was something I, again, had that conversation with him. Being honest with him. Just be honest with him. He can handle it, right? So I had that conversation about me not wanting to move to any impoverished areas. I wanted to have the same standard of living. And to Indiana's credit, I don't know where's what. This was my first time ever being there. I haven't talked to anybody who lived there, so I don't know what areas what. Probably the house that I visited was in the bad area, but I don't know, because I don't know the areas, and I don't know how to get to the better areas, and I can't see. And for whatever reason, I know you guys are thinking why you didn't have a real estate agent. I didn't. So let's go there. I didn't. But I talked to God about it, that I didn't want to live in a bad area. I wanted a nice apartment comparable to what I have now. If I can't come out initially buying a house, I want to have an apartment that's comparable to where I live now. So when I saw that apartment online, and I saw that it had cathedral ceilings, it had the master bath, it had central air, I was like, bet this is it. I want to stay. I could stay here. The area looked nice. I could stay here. So I made that decision that I was going to go apply online to this apartment complex to move here, from where I'm at now. When I go to create an account to apply to the apartment online, I have to put in, create a username and password and all that good stuff. I put my email in, and it says, "Hi, Diana, you already have an account with us." Huh? I'm like, "No, I don't know y'all. Y'all know me. We don't know each other. I don't got no account with y'all. Or did somebody steal my identity? What's going on here?" Right? I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, what is going on? I don't have no account with y'all. So then a few minutes later, after I do all this spazzing out prematurely, a few seconds later, it pops up and says, "You currently live in this property, and you are registered at this property," which is my current place now. And I'm like, so apparently my current apartment complex has a relationship with the apartment complex that I was applying for. Do you guys see the irony in that? Like how that had to be God. I go pick up, that was the last order of the night. I go pick it up. It already had something similar to another promise that the same name as another promise that he gave me. And now when I go to apply for the apartment online, it's already telling me it knows me. It already knows me. It already has my information. How out of all the apartments in that area, in that city, that I picked the apartment that has a relationship with my same apartment company. So at that point, I'm like, okay, God, I got all the confirmations I need. I'm moving to South Bend, Indiana. That's where you want me. That's where I'm going. So that's where we're at now. I feel like I have enough confirmations to move to South Bend, Indiana. I feel like all of the things that I've been able to experience in terms of Indiana, and I might have forgot a few signs here and there. If I do, I'll try to put them in somewhere before I finally edit it and upload it. I'll put like maybe a stop somewhere and say, oh, that was another one before I go. So, and this is a still yet to be seen type of deal too. When I was changing hotels, remember I told you I stayed downtown, but I only could stay so many days, so I had to change hotels. When I was changing hotels, I'm driving down the street and I see a hospital. And my career is in hospitals, medical, healthcare. And I know I need to find a job when I get here. I'm moving with the current job I have, but I can't really keep it because it's a remote job, but it's not remote from Indiana. So I know I'm going to have to find another job. So when I drive by this hospital, I'm like, oh, okay, there's a hospital. I knew that there was St. Joe in the area, but I didn't know any other hospital names. But when I rode by it, I was like, bet. There's a hospital. So when I get to the hotel and check in, because remember I was moved from one hotel to another, and I drove by the hospital. So when I get to the second hotel, check in and sit down, I look up that hospital and see if they're hiring. They happen to be hiring for a medical billing manager. I currently do medical billing, and I have a history as one of my old jobs was a medical billing manager, and I want to get back into it. I really enjoyed it, and that's really, I want to go back up to the level that I currently am a supervisor, but I want to go back to the management level. And I see that they have a job for a medical billing manager. Now, I don't know that hasn't came through yet, so I don't have a job in Indiana currently at this particular video taping, but we shall see. But we shall see if that pans out too. But currently, you guys have all the things that I know, and how I came to understand that I'm supposed to be in South Bend, Indiana. I wanted to document these things so you can know if God is telling you something, the different signs that you will see, and He will show you to confirm what He's telling you. Another thing, and this is scripture. So my Bible reading from today, I think God is kind of chastising me in a roundabout way, getting me together. what I'm reading, my current Bible study reading is Numbers. I'm reading Numbers 14. If you know anything about Numbers, Numbers is when God had brought the children of Israelites out of Egypt and had rescued them from Pharaoh's hand. And then they get into Numbers, and he's telling them, so he rescued them, telling them he's going to take them to the promised land, flowing with milk and honey. And they get into Numbers, and they just being disobedient and complaining. They're not happy. Everything God does is just not enough. They keep saying, why do you do this? And God's not happy. His anger continues to burn with them time and time after time. And at this particular time, they finally get to the land of Canaan in Numbers 14. And God tells them, well, Numbers 13, they got to the land of Canaan, which is the land he promised them. And God tells a couple spies to go look at the land and peep it out, basically, and come back and give a report. There was about 10 men, I don't remember exactly, but there was a lot of men who went and scoped out the land. And there were giants in the land. There were grapes, and the land was flowing with milk and honey, as God said. But they also know that there was giants on the land. So there were most of the people who went and looked at the land came back and told the children of Israel. And I'm paraphrasing, you guys go back and read it for yourself to get the true verbatim message of the text. But they was like, nope, don't go, we're going to get killed. These people, in one of the passages, say we looked like grasshoppers in their eyes and also in our eyes. So they were saying the people were so big to compare to them that they looked like grasshoppers to the people who was already living in the land. So they was encouraging the children of Israel that they cannot possess the land. There's no way that they can do it. And they were given a false report. There were like Caleb and Joshua, son of Nun, who did say, no, we can absolutely take them, and we have the Lord on our side. We can overtake them. But then at that point in chapter 14 is where the Israelites are refusing to occupy the land. They're refusing to go into the land that God had promised them, and because they're scared, for lack of a better term. And in God's mind, they're being disobedient. He told them they could possess the land. Yeah, he was taking them to a land, and he told them this was the land. And he's not only upset with the person who gave a false report, but he's upset with the children of Israel for not trusting him and not believing in everything he's shown them. And he brought them out of Pharaoh with a mighty hand. He basically rescued them from Pharaoh time and time and time and time again. And yet even here now, so many years later in chapter 14 of Numbers, they still don't believe that God can rescue them. They still don't want to take the land that he's promised to them, based on the fact that they don't trust him to provide and do the very thing he's already done. They're not looking to him as Savior and as Lord, who's brought them out of so many things before. They're looking at their own strength and their own might. So they're like, no, we're not going to possess the land. And at this point in time, God is very angry with them, to where he wants to strike them down. And Moses is like, no, Lord, don't kill your people. This. But in a nutshell, I tell you all that to say, I feel like God's telling me, quit complaining, because this is what the children of Israel went through when they complained. Do you really want to, do you want me to take my hand off of it? Do you want me to say, never mind, or whatever have you? And this is just my relationship with God that I'm making sense of. You might say, oh, God won't do that. And I don't think he will anyway, but I think he's showing me that the very thing that I'm telling you to do, I've done it before. I've mapped out a place that I wanted my people to move to, and they didn't do it. They complained about it. And then because they complained about it, they ended up not being able to possess the land that God had for them. He ended up saying none of the people who complained and wouldn't possess the land would make it until the promised land. They would have to wait until they would all have to die off. Except Caleb and his people, they would possess the land. But everybody else who complained and didn't want to possess the land, they would have to die before God would let them inherit the land, which had them going in circles. Basically, I'm saying in circles, the Bible didn't say that, but basically they remained in the desert for 40 years because they would not possess the land and did not trust God. So I'm understanding that God is telling me, if you don't do what I told you to do, if you don't trust me, yes, I'm gracious, yes, I'm long suffering, yes, my plans for you are good. But here's what I'm telling you to do. I told you to move to Indiana. Are you going to be like the children of Israel? Are you going to complain your way through? Are you going to constantly doubt that I don't have your best interest at heart? Are you going to discount everything that I did for you prior to now to not possess the land that I told you to? Is this really what you want for your life? And so to that, I say, nope. Nope, I'm not going to do that, God. I'm going to trust you. I'm going to trust you to provide. I'm going to trust you to be the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I'm going to trust for you to be the God who brought Egypt out with a strong hand. I'm going to possess the land, Lord God. And I thank you that you haven't give up. Sorry, you guys, I just almost went into worship. But I'm just thankful that he didn't give up for me. I'm thankful that his grace is sufficient for me. I'm thankful that Jesus died and came again, and that I'm covered by the blood of Christ. So even in my complaining, that he can see through that, and I can be covered by the blood of Jesus, and I can be back committed to the plan that he has for my life. I'm just really thankful in this moment that I am moving forward with what I believe he's telling me, knowing that he did tell me this and he gave me enough confirmations that I don't need any more confirmations. So currently I am searching for moving companies. That's where I'm at currently. I'm searching for moving companies. I'm in the process of applying for the apartment that I think he's told me to go to. I didn't go and do a visual tour because, I do like to do visual tours because you just never know what you're getting into till you look at it. But I feel like since it was coming from him, I can trust that it's going to meet the standard I wanted to. I feel like it was ordained for me to find that apartment in the way that I did. So I don't need to worry about the anything situations. I'm in God's hand. And when you're in God's hand, you're safe. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply for the apartment. The next video I record will be after I apply for the apartment and what happened next. So again, I'm doing this video to document what's happening during me preparing to make a God-given move. I hope that something I said gives you faith and you can look at what God is telling you and make sense of it. If you have been dismissing the small signs, I ask you to go back and reconsider them to think, was that from God? Because like I said, sometimes he doesn't part the Red Sea. Sometimes he doesn't crack heaven open, but he still gives us signs in this day and age. Again, I hope this resonated with you. I pray that this touched you in some type of way. I pray the Lord will bless you, keep you, make his face shine upon you, and be gracious to you. Until next time.